I put that book down and I picked up a different book called Introduction to the Black Experience, which is weird because it makes it sound like there's only one. Like if you took my life and Tupac's life and Colin Powell's life, made a Venn diagram, everything would be in the middle. I started reading that, but it ended up just being a collection of slave narratives, and I can't read about slavery in public because as a black person, reading about slavery makes you feel for your culture and your ancestry and your heritage and what was done to it. But as an individual, I'm really into BDSM. So reading slave narratives is an emotional roller coaster. It's like, Master made me work in the hot field for no pay. I'm like, that's wrong. It's like, Master stripped me and whipped me as my bosom sung, and I'm like, that is... oh. So I bought that book. I've been jacking off to the life of Frederick Douglass for the last 5 days.
I've been obsessed with comedians recently, especially stand-up comedians just getting started. There are a few different reasons why. For one, I just find it amazing to watch a comedian take a risk on stage, just to see them find a way to blend humor and suffering and how to balance their personal stories with big issues, with other crazy shit, and figure out the right balance to affect an audience. And it's fun to watch them shape their performance over time to get the content and the rhythm and the pacing and the transitions all right. And maybe most of all, I'm impressed by how a comedian finds their voice and what writers can learn from how comedians do it. I started thinking about this while listening to Mark Maron's WTF podcast.
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuck nicks, what the fuck's the...
Especially in the earlier days where he focused more on interviewing comedians and not these big famous comedians. Listening to them talk about the early days of doing stand-up, and they spoke about it like they had been in a war together or something like that. Among the many, many challenges was that challenge to confront a not-so-friendly audience when your material isn't so fine-tuned, and that experience of practically getting slaughtered out there. It's funny because a writer can hide in the attic for 10 or more years and never share his writing with anyone, but still call himself a writer. You can't really do that when you're a comedian. And so they have to experience this emotional reaction from the audience on day one, sort of.
You can start writing whenever, and you can get better as a writer and keep all the things you don't appreciate that you've done in a shoebox somewhere.
Yeah.
But when you start doing comedy, you just everybody gets to see that shoebox and tell you how much you sucked when you started.
Even though it sounds horrible and punishing and traumatic, it also sounds like an amazing crash course at finding your voice. I think too many young writers don't test out their voice. It's true that you need to be careful about sharing something that is too fragile, or share things with too many assholes very early on. But on the other hand, I think it's a bigger danger to think that all your writing is so damn precious and never share it. At least for me, what needs to happen is I need to test it out. I need to say it out loud. Say it in front of friends or a group, writing group, or go to do a reading at a neighborhood bar or something, just to hear my voice out loud and to listen to that reaction, whether it's a gasp or a giggle or a sigh or nothing at all. I wish I was the type of person that knew what kind of effect my writing would have without needing that stupid audience, but I'm not that type of person. I need to hear you, feel you, see you. Just the pattern of your breath. It's how I learn what works and what doesn't. I'm a failed writer. Oh yeah. Have I wasted my life? I'm such an idiot. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?